So, this week's COP mutation is called Dead Heat, and it says the laws of nature seem to have been upended. Liquid magma spews forth not only from Veridia Prime, but also from the hostile forces intent on its destruction. Death itself pulls inescapably at your forces, but your enemies seem immune to its touch. You must survive this onslaught and save the planet. So basically what that means is that you're being dragged into a lot of bombs, and each one of those enemies is basically a living bomb, or magma. So there's 3 mutations, and all bloody irritating combined. Fatal attraction, so when enemy units and structures die, any of your nearby units are pulled to their location. And then, the enemy units explode and deal damage to nearby player units upon death. And then, the enemy units spawn infested Terrans upon death in numbers according to the unit's life. And then we go all the way back to the beginning again. They drag your units in and explode. So, it's basically a vortex of death. So, I would say any commanders that either need to put a lot of energy into like big bulky stampy units, like I would say, let's say battle cruisers with Reyna. That's a big no-no. They basically demolish them really quickly. I had a similar experience with Karrigan, and also any heroes where the actual hero themselves walks around. So Karrigan is definitely out. And I would say Alarak is probably out as well. Don't think his Death Fleet option is any good, because they'll just decimate them too. I would also say Phoenix is probably the worst on this, because he kind of needs to have those big, amazing hero units, and all it does... Oh, by the way, when this little... let's go back to the mutation. Where have we gone? There we go. When Fatal Attraction happens, it's like a little stun. It stops your armies from doing whatever they're doing at that second, and then it hurts them heavily. So the best way I think that I've gone about it, and the way I beat it, and I beat this on brutal difficulty. It's not that hard, I would say. It's just sort of finding that sweet spot, and I did this with playing Carrax, and my co-op comrade was Stukov. And so this week what I'll do is I'll actually look at the replay. First of all, a little bit of a replay of when I chose Karrigan, and I'll show you what happened to her units and why it's a bad idea to go down the units route unless they're throwaways like Stukov, or yeah, anything where there's an investment of units and they need to survive, like Nova. I would say probably Abatha, and any sort of bad ideas. I would also say Zagara is probably a bad idea, just because her units are quite fragile, and they probably won't even get to either detonate as well as they could, and well, it might have been an okay idea, but I feel there are better options than Zagara. I would say again, Reyna might have been not such a bad idea. The mines would have been good, but again, because we're on the Vermillion problem, the lava pops up and the mines are basically, unless you put them in very specific locations, they're kind of useless. And then good luck with any flying units. Carrax was the right decision, because you can place down all of his structures. Your own structures obviously can't be dragged around. They do get damaged by the exploding units, but if you get his ability, if you sort of upgrade all his abilities quite quickly, he becomes quite the powerhouse in this. He's fantastic for this map, and Stukov did really well on this. But first of all, I'll have a quick look at my last replay, or my first replay. So yeah, here we go. So I will look at this, and then I'll quickly pause here until I get to the points I want to show you. There's just a couple of little specific points that are quite good to see what happens to your army, and why there are better options than going with an army. So I'll just pause there and show you. Okay, so this is a group of Zerglings and Broodlords with Karrigan going into what is really small little pocket of enemies, and just sort of watch what happens. They just get decimated. You just get dragged in, and as you can see, my hole, everything's just getting blown up every single time. The only one that survived was Karrigan, and that was literally just destroyed it. So I tried a different route a little further along, and I'll just pause here till I get to that point. I go down the Ultralisk route, which I believe Loco has done, and I haven't checked his video out, but I believe he managed it. But I gave that a go before, and it didn't work out. It was probably close, but by this point I've already sunk way too much into my flyers. We're at 5 minutes. It's not the way to go. Also, I unfortunately am going up against Protoss who have Immortals out, so they just decimate it. So it ends up being a poor idea anyway. I'll just sort of show you how the Ultralisks go. They fare a bit better, but basically it's either they wipe each other out, which means that there's very little ability to progress into bases. So I could, for instance, if there's a group of enemy units coming here, I could engage here, and they would probably wipe each other out, which means I need to build up even more Ultralisks. But by the time that I've built those up, there is just absolutely no way of being able to assault these high grounds here. And my teammate is obviously let's see how much he's got. Yeah, he's trying to pour money into obviously defending us, so it's up to me to push, and I just wasn't able to push in any of these circumstances. But I'll sort of show you in a sec what happens to the Ultralisks. Okay, so we're going to have a group of enemies coming up here. You're going to see I've decided to throw in some Zerglings as well, just to see if we can at least get something happening with it. Carrix goes in, and he just you can see how he does quite well. And I run in here. The Zerglings just blow everything up. They're just pulling everything in. So Ultralisks were the way to go. The problem is they just blow Karrigan up quite heavily. If you planned on doing Ultralisks from the very beginning, they're the right way to go with the reincarnation. If you want to try it out that way, you know, it might be a bit of fun, but you need to have made that decision before you began, as opposed to sort of switching up in the middle, where I went, where I've already wasted a ton of resources on other potential avenues. They've got, and I haven't actually done much to upgrade them either. Like, I just started upgrading them. Really, we're at 30 minutes. They should be fully upgraded. I should have a whole bunch of them, and I should be ready to just blow the living crap out of everything with them. But I didn't, and by that point I'd kind of got a bit fed up with this route. I saw how well my teammate had gone, and Carrix's abilities are probably the way to go. So we'll leave it there, and I will go to the game where I actually managed to complete it, and I'll just sort of jump at points and go through it. Okay, so this is my game with playing as Carrix, and I'm playing with a Stukov, and Stukov does quite well. He just does his thing. I've not played Stukov before. It's not something I don't own him as a co-op commander, but I've obviously played Carrix enough to have enjoyed at least a little bit of that. The main thing to really focus on as a Carrix commander in this week's mutation is you really need to get these your Solarite generation. You need to invest in it pretty reasonably quickly. Now, at the beginning you can see I didn't get any gas, and that's because I was focusing on getting up my mineral economy so that I could throw out my cannons and then to also throw out my shield generators, because we're going to start to hit, we're going to start to at about the 4-minute mark, we're going to get a bunch of Zerglies come in. It is going to be against a Zerg opponent, which is good here, which is fine because I can basically demolish down a lot of their units using solar lance and also using the orbital strikes. Now those you're going to be relying on them quite a lot. Let's see what my my friend over here is doing. Where's his camera?
Time to raise your APM.
Oh, okay. We'll go back to mine. Apparently he also has one of the new announcers. Good for him. Anyway, you basically just, the idea is that one person defends, keeps everything up, keeps short, words escape me. One person keeps your economy, make sure your economy is going to be protected. So as you can sort of see, let's slow that down just a little bit, let's take that off that camera. As you can see, this will keep this nice and safe, and then using your character's abilities in conjunction with this, that kept that attack from going in and causing havoc here. Our economy is saved, and my teammate is pushing forward and clearing out what is our natural expansions on this map, or our only expansions on this map I should say. Now my biggest problem here was that I left expanding quite late. We're at the sort of, I don't think I expanded until at least the 16-minute mark. It was pretty bad. I honestly didn't play very well at all on this map, or I didn't play very well on this. I might in fact give it another go. Like I didn't mind the map once I actually like this map. I use this map to grind out my commanders, as it's quite cozy. I know how things work. You can sort of take it a little bit slower. You get a feel of everything. It's not so much as a smash and grab map, but these mutations can be quite deadly if you don't have the right commanders to back you up. Yeah, and the other thing I noticed when I've gone back over this replay, and I did prior to this, I'd actually recorded this whole thing. I just finished it, and I was just getting ready to get it ready to get uploaded, and I realized the sound hadn't recorded, and I had left the mute button on my little microphone on my headset, which is really annoying. So this is for the second time. So a few of the things that I did as a Carax, which are worth noting because they were stupid. There you go. Just takes it in, and you can see the beam makes it really nice and easy. And my opponent, once again, is just doing its thing, pushing in, making sure that we can actually get in and get to those xenon crystals. And there we go, pushing forward as we go. As you can see, we're at the 12-minute mark, and I haven't even bothered expanding. I've got 2,500 minerals. I should have been doing something with those minerals. I didn't even put defenses up here. I think I was a little bit blindsided by all the things that are going on, and I did a poor job of that. So let's see where it's going. Yeah, I managed to do a thing, defend it with a purifier beam, took out a few units. So one of the things that you need to do as Carax, as I've already said, you need to get all of your research done fairly quickly. So having these out reasonably early on and mining from them is a must, and getting to your expansion reasonably early on and having at least some basic defenses out there is a must. As you can see, there hasn't been a lot happening. There's probably been 1 or 2 attacks here, and there's been an attack here, and you can take care of these. As you can see, there's another one, you can take care of these fairly in a fairly efficient manner. I don't need my opponent. I don't need my co-op partner to help me with this. I just take all this lot out. I think I don't even. Yeah, I lose one cannon. I lost a cannon. I used a lot of solarite, and yeah, the other thing you need to do is just make sure you get your buildings out in a sort of a tidy fashion. Now, I spent quite a bit on here, but still that was probably only 1,000 or a couple of thousand. I could have had, yeah, now I get my expansion out of it. Yeah, 15 minutes, 30 seconds. So you need to get your expansion out quite nicely, and once your expansions, I should have also been building probes in order to transfer over to this expansion reasonably early on as well. The other thing I could have been doing, and I noticed that I wasn't doing, is I could have been building even more probes. That's something that, because all I am building, I'm not building any army units. That is not my job in this particular matchup. My job is to defend and to make sure and to give my co-op commander comrade a little bit of backup with some of these abilities. The other thing I don't really do, and I've just noticed, is I barely use the chrono wave, which would have really helped him out in certain circumstances. And that's just the fact that I'm not a very good player, and that's cool. I can learn from that. That's what these sort of recordings are all about. Learning a little bit, putting this out there, and hopefully helping some of you people on the interwebs to see whether it helps you or not. This is all going on at the same time, pushing forward. What am I doing? See, look at that, just completely takes out with very little, if any effort. So Carax is if you're not sure who to go, I would go Carax first as a pick, or Stukov if you have him, and hope you've got a Carax player, but you've at least got a chance of moving forward if you've got a Carax. Now, I don't know if I did better than the person I was playing with in the first game I showed you, who also went Carax. I think I was pushing at least a little bit, trying to keep ahead of it. One thing he did that I didn't do until a little bit later on was, or it may have been another match, I think, I put some turrets and some defenses here to sort of hold them off. But to be honest, here was good enough. Once again, I've left a lot. I've just banked a lot of resources. What was I actually doing anyway? Let's have a look. That's what I've noticed. Okay, so I've noticed that we don't have a lot of defenses. This is enough. In fact, they very rarely come at your base, sort of. Now on, sort of, I think it was, about the 20-minute mark, they start pushing. They start poking at your natural. So you want to make sure you have your defenses here, and you want to make sure you have your defenses here. And I don't actually recall them coming from this direction. Anyway. Yeah, so obviously, so the other thing I could have done is, because I have plenty of extra minerals, I have plenty of
your allies are in battle.
Oh god, what do I call that? Words escape me today, it would seem. I have plenty of spots for extra units. I should have been pumping out workers. Just so that I could pick these up nice and tidily quick. So what say? Yep, that's something I should have done. He's done it, but really all he should have had to have focused on was pushing and wiping out our opponent's buildings. Oh, that's what I did. And yeah, this is the second time I've used the Purifier Beam. It's got a 4-minute 30. It's got a 430 seconds or 4-minute 30. I think it's 430 second cooldown. and I have used it twice this whole game. And yeah, I didn't notice this coming in, which was silly. That's okay, I've got enough resources banked up. Whew, excuse me. At this point, all it's a case of doing is going ahead, making sure you've got all your defenses lined up, making sure you've got enough resources banked to cover anything coming, and make sure you've just upgraded everything, and that includes, don't forget to upgrade all your defense upgrades here at the forge. And really now it's just a case of making sure you've got your defenses in place. The other thing you can do is that obviously you, as Karax, your buildings spawn really quickly, so you could come in behind as your co-op partner is pushing. He pushes forward, and then you just turret these, and then they just hit. And so you can push with him. The other thing it does on this map is, if you for whatever reason can't grab these first time round, when after the lava drops, these will generally have little groups of units defending them. Where's the map? Oh, there's the map. As you can see, I've done. Oh, I should probably help out do things. But I was silly. I think all these what happened? Oh yeah, they just stopped. Ah, yeah, that's what happened. And they all got died. They all died. There we go. I think what happened there was that as soon as one of those units die and they draw you in, any destination you sent your units to, they automatically stop. So it stuns the unit, and unless it's on like auto attack or something afterwards when it's when enemies come in, basically what happens is they'll just stop, and they just stop, so I had to restart them. But then a whole bunch more units died, and they just dragged it in and killed off everything. Again, Solar Lance is amazing. It's the only thing kept me alive. But at this point, yeah, there we go. I just keep hitting them again and again as much as you can. The other thing to do is make sure you don't entirely block off. Maybe give a little path here. There's plenty of room. I could have put defensive structures here. I could have put defensive structures here and given them plenty of room to get in and hold off all of that. Also, there was Xenon crystal sitting there the whole time. There we go. So at this point, yeah. At this point, it's really quite a simple task of just bring it home. And I screwed up here and sent one on its merry way up here. And it died because we hadn't cleared out the side of the map. Silly me. But that's alright. In 2 minutes time, my... where's it gone? My partner will actually finish this off. Yep, there we go. Crap, not very good. Yeah, let's see, what other units would have actually been useful in this? See, again, carriers would have been terrible because they would have died really quickly, been drawn in.
Base is under attack.
Not very good, they would have died really quickly. They can reconstruct, but again, it's the same thing because they'll reconstruct and then they'll just, well, they'll all die out really quickly. It ends up being a complete waste of money. Probes are really the only thing I think I could have actually built in here that would have made a real difference. That I could have just sent them around the map. Like at this point, I had before that finishes. Yes, we've actually won the day. Fantastic. Okay, there's the 20th crystal. I had 7,000 minerals doing nothing. I could have been sending probes up to here, putting a bunch of cannons up, just making sure there was some room, make sure that if there was enemy units coming in, there wasn't much, going on. I could have even, yeah. Anyway, there was many things I could have done here, but the point is, we won. There we go. Fantastic. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this way that I have recorded this week. I wanted to try a different way of going through one of my recordings. I can talk and brainstorm and sort of think about what I've done. And there we go. Just a second. Oh, I got interrupted by a call coming in. Needed to take that. Anyway, I was just finishing up saying, so this was the brutal. This was my sort of going over the replay of my successful playthrough of the brutal mutation of this week. If you like how I went over it this way as opposed to my other videos where I just sort of play and you see me play in real time, then yeah, give me a like, tell me if you like it, tell me if you don't like it, tell me if I'm mumbling too much going on, maybe I need to think about a bit more before I speak. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. And if you'd like to see more of this, subscribe. Yeah, I just hope you enjoy it. Anyway, have a lovely day, internets.